Good afternoon, and thank you, everyone. Thanks so much. I'm really delighted to be here, so thank you so much for the invitation. I couldn't make last year, so really pleased I was able to come today. You've chosen the same day as West Midlands for their organising event. So I was in Birmingham this morning, and then I've come over here this afternoon. So, but just talking to people, I could see what a brilliant day you've had here, and overhearing some conversations. You know, it's obvious this has been a really special event, and a day that's brought people together, giving activists the skills and confidence to go out there and change things. And change things in workplaces and in communities. And hopefully reminded us all why we joined the union in the first place. Some of you here might be here for the first time at an event like this, and I know that you came to learn, to connect, to meet other people, to share ideas and experience. Now, some of you might have come this morning feeling a bit unsure about what the day would bring, maybe wondering what your role would be in all of this, wondering what difference that one person can actually make. Well, after everything that you've heard today, I hope you're leaving with a very different feeling. Because the story of our union, the story of every campaign and every win, every improvement in pay, every job saved, always begins with one person deciding, I'm going to do something about this. And then another person does it, and then another person does it, and that's how change happens. And that's why today and events like this really do matter in our union. And throughout the day, I know that you've been hearing from some brilliant organisers, trainers and campaigners. Caroline and John from the Ella Baker School took you through strategy and power, because to organise effectively, we do need to understand where power lies. Gavin and Ella from your brilliant regional learning team showed you the power of organising around learning, because we learn, we grow stronger, and knowledge shared is power multiplied. And Lizanne and Joe from UNISON Strategic Organising Unit, I'm sure showed you the importance of base organising within our branches, which is critically important to everything that we do. Those everyday conversations that you have with your members that build trust and confidence. And I know you had Matt and Johnny here from Hope Not Hate. I want to pay tribute to Hope Not Hate, because they have done such a brilliant job, and they're working really closely with us as a union as we fight the far right, but also help us to understand our members, and try and get that message across that reform, people will have all sorts of different reasons for voting reform, but just trying to get that message out that sometimes that's not the answer, and that if you've got a problem, you've got an issue, there are different ways of dealing with it. So I'm really grateful to Hope Not Hate. Their insight in this is absolutely amazing. And each workshop I know was different, each session valuable, but all with one common purpose: to help you leave here today ready to organise your workplaces and to be part of something bigger than any one of us. And we need that energy, that courage and that determination more than ever. I just want to name a few of the campaigns you've got in your region. You know, I was just speaking to the women from the University of Nottingham earlier. Sorry, I can't, there you there. 356 jobs on the line because university bosses can't manage their finances, spending nearly £100 million on building a new campus that hasn't even opened yet. And our members, the security officers, the admin staff, the library staff, people who keep the university running day in and day out, they deserve respect, not redundancy notices. And it's good to see staff have now had enough. And I want to congratulate the branch in actually getting over the 50% and being ready now to take strike action. It's a fantastic result, and I do pay tribute to you for that. Organised, determined, united. We know that's what needs to happen in trade unions for things to work. Nottingham University Hospitals just a few weeks ago, getting that fantastic result that you got. Healthcare support workers being underpaid for years for the clinical work that they do, far beyond their job descriptions, without fair pay, without proper respect. I was honoured to come up and be on the picket line with those people taking strike action there, and I'm delighted at the outcome, because they didn't stay quiet. They didn't just accept what they were being told by their management there. They organised, they brought people together, they built a campaign that just could not be ignored by management. And what happened? A deal worth thousands of pounds in back pay, a permanent pay rise, real money in people's pockets, and real recognition and respect for the job that people do. And that win couldn't have been possible without the hard work and sacrifice of those members. They showed the way, they led the way, showing that healthcare support workers across the country what's possible. And that's why days like today matter so much. Because victories like that don't just fall out of the sky. They don't just happen because employers suddenly get a change of heart and think, you know what, I think you've got a point, I think we'll just give you that. They do it because we prove that we've got the strength to force them to change their mind on these things. And they come from having strong, confident activists who talk to their members, who listen to their members, and critically take their members with them. And we are great at getting strike action, believe it or not. We've had national action in the NHS. We've had national action in local government in Scotland and Northern Ireland. There are some sectors where it's been difficult. You'll know if you're in the local government branch that it's been difficult to get over the line. And we need to maybe think about doing things differently there and targeting particular groups, perhaps more than we've done so far. Because I think that's one of the reasons why we're getting so successful in health, why we've delivered £160 million in back pay just for our healthcare assistants alone. And that's because there's a bit of a ripple effect. The more you do it, the more you target people, the more people get the confidence to do it in other sectors. And I'd like to think we can do that in local government or indeed in other sectors where it's been more difficult to get over the 50% line. JMB and Unite are exactly the same. None of them have managed to get over 50% in local government in England. And we need that collective strength in the union movement. We need that collective strength here in our union. Because yes, we have a Labour government, and yes, I campaigned to get a Labour government, and we are getting the biggest improvement in workers' rights in over 70 years. You know, better individual rights for workers, day one rights to sick pay, better collective rights, fair pay agreement in care and the school support staff negotiating body. All things that really matter and will affect hundreds of thousands of our members. The Employment Rights Bill will be an absolute game changer, and that's why the Tories in Reform and the right-wing employers, right-wing press are all opposing it, because they know this will be a game changer for working people. But we need to be strong to keep the pressure up on Labour. And when I go to the TUC Congress next week, or when I go to Labour Party conference at the end of September, that is the very clear message I'll be taking to them. No backtracking, no kicking things into the long grass, and no watering down. We're having to deal with the fact that much of the legislation they tried to get through has been thrown out by the House of Lords. And we're in a thing, I don't totally understand it, but we're in a thing where people keep telling me it's called ping pong, which apparently means things go to the House of Lords, they knock it back, comes back to the House of Commons, it's debated again, they go back to the House of Lords. So that will add time, is what I've been told, because Labour doesn't have a majority in the House of Lords. And so the Tories have consistently voted against almost all of the main parts of the legislation that the Labour government's trying to push through. And I want to be able to push that line with Labour, that we need them to follow through on all of the promises we've had. And to do that, I need to do it from a position of strength. I honestly think Labour should be singing from the rooftops about the Employment Rights Bill, but it does feel a bit like they're slightly embarrassed by it, and I'm not really sure why. And really, you'll know this, they do need things to shout about, because there hasn't been very much to shout about since they've come to power. Indeed, we've had to oppose them tooth and nail on a whole range of things, whether that's the winter fuel allowance, whether it's the attacks on disability benefits, whether it's the appalling way they're responding to the terrible situation in Gaza. I mean, I know that's difficult, but the appalling situation in Gaza, they have to get much tougher on this. I've been asked about this a few times, and it's not UNISON policy, so I probably shouldn't be saying it, but for a second I'm going to speak in a personal capacity here. I mean, I think we're getting to the point now where we have to be saying to the government, there needs to be some kind of joint country peacekeeping force, because I don't know how else they're going to force a situation where you get aid into that country, where you stop the slaughters that we're seeing. I mean, we're getting demonstrations in Israel every week, every day. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis are demonstrating against their own government. I think we would be in a strong position to actually take that kind of direct action. I'll step back into my General Secretary role now, because that's not official UNISON policy. But honestly, everybody in this room must know, you look at the news, it's almost unbearable to watch it, isn't it? And something drastic has to be done to change that situation. So we have taken on the government on all of these things, pushing them time and time again. And one of the biggest areas where I'm taking them on is in fighting privatisation, outsourcing, and in particular, and those of you who work in health will be familiar with this, on subcos. That's the wholly owned subsidiary companies. So we had this a few years ago when I was head of health. We fought subcos. A few of them did come through, but we managed to hold off on loads of them. We're now in a position where the new head of the NHS England has said he wants to see subcos everywhere. So I've taken it to the Secretary of State. I've had meetings with the head of NHS England, and I've told them in no uncertain terms, everywhere you bring in a subco, everywhere you try and put the cleaners, the catering staff, the porters in something which means, although they're still in the NHS, they're not actually directly employed by that trust. I've said to them, we will oppose you everywhere. We will do everything in our power. We will shift resources around if we have to stop that from happening. So I think the message is getting through. I hope the message is getting through. It's one of the main motions we are taking to Congress next week. And between then and the Labour Party, we will be building up support from other unions to make sure we get that message across loud and clear. Because this is about getting not just better pay, but fairer pay for the people that do those key jobs in the NHS. And being stronger by being better organised is how we win these kinds of campaigns. When I became General Secretary, one of the promises I made was that we would deliver a UNISON college. And that was a real investment in training and developing our activists. And we did deliver on that promise. But the UNISON College isn't just about running courses or events just for the sake of it or because you tick a box to say we've done it. It's about building a culture in the union, building a culture where learning never stops, where we're always developing leaders, developing new leaders, always building confidence amongst our senior activists, always sharing skills and experience, so that no activist should feel they have to figure out these difficult things on their own. And this Organising Convention, and the ones across our union, are part of that, because this is all about giving you the tools to make sure you can make a difference in people's lives. Because here's the truth. UNISON doesn't organise in workplaces. You organise in workplaces. It's the work that you do every single day as the voice and the face of our union. It's every single win you have. Every time you help a member win something, every time you stop something bad from happening, every conversation you have, every time you convince somebody to join the union, that's what organising is in our union. That's what grows our union. So my thanks goes to all of you, everyone in this room, and indeed to the staff I know who work with you. Because let me tell you this, and you know this, when we organise well, we win. When we act collectively and when we learn from what works and what doesn't work, and when we learn from each other, There is nothing we can't achieve. And the victories we've seen here in East Midlands prove that. The campaigns happening across the country in our union prove that. We can win better pay, we can defend jobs, we can improve people's working lives. We can challenge injustice and inequality everywhere we see it. And we can build a better future for working people. But only if we organise. Only if we have the confidence to lead, the skills to persuade, and the courage to act together. So as this day comes to a close, I want you to hold on to the feeling you have right now, that sense of energy, ambition and pride, and think back and remember what made you become a union member in the first place, and then what made you take that next step to becoming an activist, even if it's just a low-level activist, if such a thing. You know, that first little bit where you went beyond being a member. Remember why you did that. Had something happened? Did you see something? Did somebody approach you? Because that's the feeling you want to hold on to. The feeling that you make a difference every single day through organising. Because this can't just be a day that you enjoyed, you've had fun, but that in 2 weeks down the road you can hardly remember what happened. This should be a day that is the start of something different. The moment you decided to step forward and take that next little bit of activism forward, and to take what you've learned here and take it back to your workplace and put it into practice. In your branch, in your campaigns. I know the challenges we all face are big. I know that, you know, the cost of living is still the main thing on our members' lives. The main issue where they look around at their lives and they think, my bills are not getting any smaller. My food bill is still huge. My energy bills are still huge. My transport costs have gone up. My rent has gone up. So that's still a big challenge that you're having to deal with all the time. So not only are the challenges big, so is the power in this room. So is the power in our union. And when we harness that power, when we learn, when we lead, when we stand together, there is no limit to what we can achieve. So let's leave here today proud of what you've achieved, proud of what you're going to achieve, proud of what we've won. Because this is my main message to you. Together we are strong. Together we can change things. And together as a union, we can win. Thank you.
Well done.